Hello, and welcome back to the Gothic Heart. Today is an extra special episode where I'm going to be diving into everything about my wedding, my Halloween themed wedding. And I have an extra special guest, the owner of Party and Be Married, which is actually the planning company that I used for my wedding 13 years ago. So I have got Dana here, and I will let her do a quick intro and then we'll dive into everything Hallowedding. Dana, go for it.
Hi, Amity. Thanks for having me. We're so excited to be here and talk about your wedding and what we did and how much fun we had.
It was a blast. People still talk about it to this day. So, this was again 13 years ago, of course, and in Southern California, which is not where I live now. Uh, but Dana and her crew came up with just amazing ideas to augment my vision and to make it just the most amazing and special day. Party and Be Merry does lots and lots of events, weddings, corporate events, everything, and just the magnitude of the and the scope of the visions, and that they're able to see each different kind of style and make it exactly what the person wants is just what led me to everything that I had. So we'll start with just let's just start with the day in general, or how did I meet, Party and Be Married? So this is a fun story. I just asked Dana if she even remembered how we met. So this will be a surprise for her too. So it was a wedding show, much like I'm been at wedding shows now, and they're still quite popular. And I was, decided on the Halloween wedding. Actually, my husband had decided on the Halloween wedding, and the second he said it, I was like, yes. How did I not think of that? Of course. So we knew it was going to be a Halloween wedding. We had all these ideas. I didn't think we were going to need a planner. I knew I knew the Halloween stuff. And I met them and they're like, well, we just come over. Like, it's free. Like, let us come talk to you. So they came to my house and they talked to me and, expressed all the ideas. And they're like, it's so interesting, something new. And I was like, yes, I mean, it's great. But, look at my house. Like, I got all my decor. We're good. We're good. I don't need anything. But then they called me again after that and they said, hey, like, we know you had a vision for your invitations. We think we got it down. We want to bring you some. We just want to bring you a mock up that we made of your invitations. And you guys, they nailed it. They nailed it. It was just orange skull damask coffin shaped that opened up like gates. I will attach a picture. Opened up the poems, the bats. I mean, just literally everything could not have been. It was above and beyond anything I could have imagined. And it was literally then I was like, all right, everything. What do you got? What can we do? So I'm going to let Dana take over for a minute and just talk about how like that's even for anybody who's listening, that's a great way of getting clients. I mean, keeping on it, you can do what you want for the client. Client me did not necessarily know that I needed a planner. There's no way my wedding would have gone on without a planner. They knew better. They were the experts. So I just want Dana to kind of talk about the background of how you guys do everything and how you do your shows and sort of how your company has evolved from when it began. So now that we know how we met and how we got started, I want to hear your guys' background.
Okay. So, our background from Party and Be Married uh, it is Joanne and I and my daughter Dominique. So, there are three of us. Joanne and I came actually from a banking background, but really wanted to be creative. So, we had a lot of interesting customer service background as well as background in planning, organization, all those types of things. My daughter was a recent graduate from design school, so she also had a lot of creative energy. When we came to your house and we walked in and there was Halloween everywhere, we were so excited. I remember you saying, it's Halloween here every day, all the time. And we were really excited about that. It was really cool. We left there thinking, this is going to be so much fun. We love to do things that stretch our creative ability. We love to do things where we can really think outside the box figure out what it is that the client wants, what the client needs. And I am a true believer that every couple should have a planner. I know I'm a planner. You would think that that's what I would think. But even when my children got married, I did most of the planning, but I hired a planner to take
Mm.
over for me because it's so important that the couple enjoys their day and that somebody else takes over all of the organization so that the bride and groom are not caught off guard. They're not busy doing all that busy work and can just enjoy their day. So even if it's not me, when I interview with my clients, I tell them, please hire somebody. Even if it's not me, hire somebody.
Something, anything.
Right.
Gosh, I was literally one of those clients, so I could not agree with you more. I think actually, so we got married on the Queen Mary. For those of you who don't know, it's this haunted ship that's permanently docked in Long Beach, California. And after the wedding before ours on the boat, I guess ran long. They didn't have a planner. It got all messed up. And after that wedding, literally the one right before ours, after that, the Queen Mary instituted a policy that nobody can get married without wedding planners on their boat anymore. They required them because of how many things just go wrong.
Right.
So I could not agree with you more. I couldn't even imagine trying to like facilitate things or organize things while I'm also getting married.
There's so
Could
many
not.
people that think that it will be easy. And in some cases it is, but you still don't want to have to do that as the couple, as the bride and groom. You don't want your parents to do it either.
Even just a regular event, even just a dinner party, like it's just so much. I can't, it's so much. I 100% will always get a planner for every big thing from now on because I know the amount of detail that goes into it. And I couldn't, last minute, all the things I had you guys do, it's just, there was no way. So, we'll dive into a couple things that we did. And I want you to let me know if it's normal that you guys get these kind of requests that I had, or, I mean, obviously maybe not in the same theme. But let's see. So at one point, I asked them, you guys, to make the vampire book from the Buffy the Vampire Slayer TV series in the first episode because I wanted to read our vows from that book. And that's what I told them. I showed them a picture and literally told them nothing else. And you guys, again, I'll attach a picture. They made it happen. That's literally what I have. We read our vows out of it, and that's all I thought it was going to be. But they actually made it as a photo album. So afterwards, I could use it to put all of the photos in. I would have thought of something like that. And just one of many details that made my day special. Another example for those of you who are familiar with the Army of Darkness, I was like, I need the Necronomicon, the Book of the Dead from Army of Darkness. Can you guys make this? And I don't know. I mean, these are just crafts. At least I don't think normal wedding planner stuff, but you guys just like literally anything and things I never even thought of. You guys were there for it. Is that normal? Do you get wild and crazy requests like mine?
Not all the time get crazy requests, but we really like all of the creative crazy requests. Those are so much fun. And now that Pinterest is such a huge thing, everybody will do their own thing. And sometimes I'm like, we can do some of those for you. Really, we don't mind.
You don't need to DIY everything.
We really, really enjoy so much of the creative aspect of doing all this thing. You can get bogged down in some of the minutia of emails and papers and insurance documents and so many things that are required that the creative stuff is what is so much fun.
It is, and can also sometimes get pushed to the last minute because of all those other things.
Right.
So
Right. We love
that's
to
what
make sure
happened
that
to
we're
me.
staying on top of our clients to make sure that everything is going as planned. The big thing that I always remember was your wedding dress.
Oh my gosh, I forgot all about that. Yes, please share you're absolutely right. You guys were indispensable in that whole debacle. Yes. Please share.
It was, you had ordered the dress from England, and I kept asking, has your dress come in? Has your dress come in? We were maybe 2 weeks out and your dress hadn't come in. And I, on the inside, was in a panic. So I remember I stayed awake one night and called England like in the middle of the night here to see if we could locate where the dress was. And nobody was answering the phone. Nobody was getting back to us. So finally we went to Rent the Runway, I think it was.
Well,
To
I don't know
Was
what
it
it was
the
called, but it was
Runway?
up
We
in
did rent
LA,
it. Right.
off Sepulveda somewhere.
Rented your dress, and you had it all tailored, everything was great. Your other dress showed up. You liked the first one better, the one you rented, I should say. So that's the one we went with. But I was getting so nervous, thinking, okay, that dress hasn't shown up. What are we going to do to get the dress that she wants?
And how weird, like, that I was just like, "Oh, it's coming." Like, out of all the things, that was not something that even phased me. That's so weird. Like, I know I was worried about, like, my place card holders, but not the dress. I don't know. So I'm so glad. I don't think it would have come. I know the original dress did come, but it was only like 2 days before the wedding, and I
Right,
would have had no way of getting it tailored.
right.
Um, and the other one was already there and perfect, but I mean, I don't think it would have come had you not. I mean, it may have come after. Who even knows? It's still sitting in my closet, never been
Okay.
worn.
Maybe the
I
girls can
don't know
wear
what to
one.
do with it. Yes, yes. It's so tiny. I don't even remember being that tiny. It's so tiny. Yeah, I guess my girls, someone could wear it just prom or something. It had spider web crystals like all over it. Yeah, one day. Oh my, yes. What, just one of the many, many things that you guys helped me with. That's so weird. Just thinking back at it, that didn't even phase me. I remember I'm just like, oh yeah,
And you
I
were
ordered
like,
it.
it's coming. And I'm thinking, no, no, we should have it.
And just the resources and things, even for getting more spooky Halloween, or like how I got the spider web crystals or things, which the resources were so much less 13 years ago. I mean,
Right,
it's so much better
right.
nowadays. There's so many cooler things and more DIY people, or just more variety. And here's something really fun I remember from our planning. So I don't know if this is normal or if you would do this from every client, but listeners, if you do have planners, this was one of the funnest things I got to do with them. You guys took me to that big, I don't know what it was, store or something, where it just had aisles and aisles of just
Yes.
cool decor and things. And I was just like, yes, we need this, we need this, we need this. I mean, I don't even remember what it was, but is that like a secret planner store? Like, what was it?
It's a really fun store. It's one that we have here in Southern California, and it has so much stuff in it. And we love to go there. We love to take people there if they want to go. A lot of times they just don't want to be bothered with, having to do all that. So we'll go look for things and then present them to them. But yeah, that was a fun store.
Yeah. Does it still exist?
It does still exist. It
Can
does. So
anyone shop there, or you have to be like a member?
technically, you're supposed to be a member, but anybody can pretty much get a membership at this point. At that
Interesting.
time, you had to have a business, show your business license, that
Hmm.
kind of thing. So
That's what I remember, is that it was
yeah,
like a little bit tricky, and I was like, I'm so special. I'm
I got the stuff
special.
for my daughter's wedding there. So
Yeah. I mean, I imagine you go there for a lot of clients.
yes, yes.
And so, you know what else I remember? You guys telling me a little bit after the wedding, and I know it wasn't the first time, but you guys had won the best of award of some kind. What did you?
Yes. We won the Best of Award for Wedding Wire for the Best of Weddings for several years in a row.
Yes.
Uh, we really enjoyed that. And that was, that all kind of came to a screeching halt at COVID.
Oh my goodness, I've already forgotten. It's been 4 years. I forgot about. No, I know, but tough for.
It's really hard when what you do for a living is gather people together and you're not allowed to do this.
Yep. Yep. Yes. Oh my goodness. And even when people were coming back, it was such a slow trickle
It
too.
was. It
Is it
was.
even back to where it was now?
No, but we're getting there. We're getting there.
So what outside of my wedding, which I will still talk about some cool things, but outside of my wedding, what is the weirdest, most unique or different thing that you've ever had to do for a client?
We get so many different requests. So one of them, well, gosh, one of the requests, which I put the kibosh on, we didn't actually do that, was uh, a guest wanted to have a food fight, and it was like, no.
Oh my god.
And then she's like, a cake fight, and I'm like, no,
Like a
no,
surprise one, or the guests would have been prepared?
no, it was going to be just a surprise one, and I said, no, 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 that's not really a good idea. And I very rarely tell my clients no about something that I was like, nope, that is not going to fly. I also, we just did recently, one of our clients, when she was little, her parents used to have this, they would call it a soup party, and it was a contest. It was a big deal in Brea here in California. I mean, the newspaper wrote about it. It was a big deal every year. And then they stopped doing it. Well, she was getting married and she wanted her fiance to experience that whole soup party. So she had her wedding at her house in her front yard in a huge tent that we had set up. I mean, it was huge. And there was also a food truck, which we've done several food trucks before. But we also did this soup party / contest. So it was basically like having several events rolled into one that we tried to manage and organize. And I have to say, it went off great. It went off much better than I thought it would.
That's good. Yay.
There were all kinds of issues with the city coming out and telling us to move
Mhm.
things. And I sent them off to their rehearsal dinner because that day things were just not going well. Sent them off to their rehearsal dinner. I said, don't worry about it. We'll fix it. We'll make it right. We'll get it all handled. And when you guys come back, it'll be done. Sure enough, it was. And the couple, the parents, everybody were just so happy. And then the next day the wedding went off. I mean, it was pouring down rain too. For 2 days it was
Of
pouring
course.
down rain. So
California. Like, what are the chances? Like,
it's an outside wedding right at Christmas. Why not?
wow. Could you imagine if they didn't have planners?
I know.
Or they
I
didn't know
know.
like the city requirements or regulations? I mean, it would have been a disaster. Or it would
Yes.
just have you to,
Right.
stay up all night fixing whatever needed to be
Right.
fixed.
And that was my first question. Do you need a permit? No. City told me no. I said, okay, sure. So we went along and we fixed a lot of things, and mom was very type A. Mom had everything very organized, which was great. But once we had to rearrange everything, she really couldn't see the forest for the trees. She just
Mm,
like her brain just shut down
yep.
because she'd been planning
Overwhelmed.
it one way for close to a year, and now the vision was gone. So it was our job to reimagine the vision and change it and make it work. And it did. So
That ability to pivot is crucial, is crucial. A lot of people don't have that. I mean, that's why you're in the industry that you're in.
exactly. Exactly.
We definitely had some pivoting going on at mine. I mean, I don't really know about it because again, you guys took care of it, but I do know when we were running late from the one prior and we had I do know our we had an hour before everything that we before guests could, so guests came in regular dress for the wedding, and then for the reception they were supposed to change into costumes, so we had like an hour and some in between the two. And then what we did was we had tarot card readers, we had psychics. We had a green screen photographer that took pictures
Awesome.
like we were, yeah, like we were in coffins or chopping people's heads off. So got a lot of those. I love those. And then what we did was, drinks and hors d'oeuvres and things. But I know that went over, or the pictures weren't done, and then the food was supposed to start. I mean, I didn't. It was like side to me because I wasn't paying attention. But I do know that you guys were jumping in a lot there. Um, I know that it happened. And even, you know what else I remember is one of my guests partied a little too hard.
Yes.
And the wedding was long over. And apparently he was still hanging out in the bathroom at the reception and nobody could get him out. See?
I
Like,
remember that. That's one of our other funny stories that we always talk about. We went in the bathroom to check the bathrooms before they left, and there was somebody in there. We were like, "Oh dear!"
what do we do? How do we get him out? It's just crazy. Well, I mean, again, just yet another thing that was unexpected that you guys were able to take care of. So that all worked out.
Yes.
So, breaking news, listeners, we took a quick pause because California, where Dana is at, just had a earthquake.
It's a small one, but it was definitely a jolt.
So, okay, well, everything's good. Small earthquake, they have them all the time, but better safe than sorry.
Right.
Oh boy, I mean, I don't miss those being here in
Right? I
Colorado.
know.
So, I just wanted to ask you guys like a couple advice because it's been so many years since I've been just actually, so before I got married, I used to be a makeup artist for weddings. So I would be at
Mhm.
bridal shows. Then I went to bridal shows when I was getting married to meet vendors, etc. Which after I got you guys already knew all the vendors, so I didn't need to worry. And then now I'm sort of back at bridal shows. I know people already have their engagement rings, which at first I was advised not to do bridal shows because they already have their engagement rings. But I feel like there's just so much more to offer, and I've been getting really fun, amazing clients. So it's almost like full circle, like that I've gone back around and I get to make really
Right?
special bands for people and just, the wedding and the planning. It's amazing. You have all these great memories and photos, but it's still just one day. And the jewelry we wear every day for the rest of our lives. For some people, it's the only jewelry they ever wear, especially out here in Colorado. We've got a lot of outdoorsy people. So so that's why I still go and I still like to work, even if it's just doing a wedding band because they get to be really fun. But so just, I know you're in California and everything, but at least out here in Colorado, very common, and it might be in California too, is really big right now is more like elopements and micro weddings.
Yes.
So do you guys do those? And if so, what changes?
We do. We've done a couple. Just like during COVID, we did a lot of Zoom type events. We did showers on Zoom, and we sent boxes of things to people with cookies and games and all kinds of fun things in it. Micro events or elopements is usually just the couple and a few guests if they want them to come. And it's pretty much the same. We still need a number of vendors, but we don't need anything big. We don't need a huge venue. People can go to a restaurant if they want to, and if they want a few guests to attend. The photographer is always one of the main people, obviously, that will be involved in that. So, the photographer, the planner, and then many times we'll even do just a small dinner that somebody will have catered. And we have a photographer that we work with she loves to help do table decor, as do we. So we all do that together.
Nice. Okay. Okay. That's cool. I mean, I just know that they struggle. Like sometimes people have minimums out here at least and won't do smaller numbers. So, it's just, I feel like invaluable to have a planner or just even know people who already knows those vendors that can already
Right.
do that. Yeah.
There's so many interesting places to do the elopements because you can do it in the middle of the desert here, or you can do it in the mountains on the
Here.
beach, right? I mean, doing things on the beach here people talk about it all the time, but it's actually really difficult But if you're doing something very small, you can do that. So
Is it difficult, like because of permits and things like that, or?
permits, just organizing, getting people there, getting equipment onto the beach.
That's a good
The
point.
sound is never good. If everybody is trying to hear. So if it's a small group, it's great. If it's a large group, it's hard. And
Those
then
are
there's
all
people
things.
walking back and forth
Oh,
with your
that's a good point
pictures.
too. Like we'll have,
Right,
people jumping in on your pictures. But
right.
those are all things I never would have thought of. I would have just been like, oh, you get married on the beach. Like that's so, I mean, obviously, because you've done them before, all those things to think about. I would never
Right.
think, oh, they're not going to be able to hear, or, how are we, how far you have to park to get on the beach in Southern California,
I
carrying all
know.
that stuff? I didn't even,
And then I
wow.
love when people have pictures of all the beautiful petals out on the ground. I'm like, have you ever
Ooh.
been to the beach?
We
Take
weren't
it
even allowed
away.
to on the Queen Mary. I don't know if you remember that, but you weren't allowed to do any flower petals because they could blow into the water.
Right. Right.
And so what we did was I bought black flower petals and we literally glue gunned them in a random scattered shape all over like the runners and things.
I remember that.
It's all like coming back to me. All the like, I mean, you guys, I didn't even think of any of these things, but when Dana and Party and Be Married came up with these amazing, like sort of ripped mummy spiderweb fabric ways of covering the, like not pews, but the benches on the boat
Yes.
where the ceremony was being held. How to hang all of these. We insisted on carving, I don't know, 30, 40 fake pumpkins with all these designs. So where are they all going to go? And so probably traditionally with your table decor, you have a theme, you do one table decor, correct? Okay.
Well, maybe sometimes we'll have two or three to create some visual interest,
Okay,
but
that makes sense.
definitely not what we did at yours. That's not a regular thing, but it was so much fun.
Yeah, it was. We had 10 guest tables plus our sweetheart table. And they were all themed on various spooky movies that I liked. So each table decor was different based on that theme. So not only did you guys create,
Yes.
design all of the things for each table, set them all up, but beforehand, they set them all up and like took pictures and let me see all the setups to make sure I like them or even add. I mean, this is just above and beyond. I would have been, what would you have done, Dave? Like, I can't even imagine. Came in with just like a truckload of boxes. I'm like, hey, but this goes on this, I don't even know how that
I
would work.
know. But we're used to it, so we got it.
So, okay. So we know, like what you said, photographer, I heard you on that. But let's say we've got someone with a tight budget and they want all the things. What are you feel like the most important, like non-negotiables? Where is the money best spent? Definitely, we already talked about a planner because it can't even be done that you
Right.
are paying for if you don't have them. So,
And it's very interesting because each client is different. We're currently working with a client. Their business, what he does is he's in the food industry. His biggest sticking point is food. So for him, his biggest issue is making sure that they have good food on the table. Most clients, though, their biggest thing is going to be the photographer and the DJ. The DJ because they want to make sure that people are having a really good time. Which do you remember the issue we had with your DJ?
I mean, no, what? No, you guys took care of it, whatever it was. What was it?
You remember we had gone before the wedding and we met him and he was really giving you a hard time about your music choices.
Oh, yes. Yes. He's like, people aren't going to dance. People aren't going to have
Exactly.
fun. And for background information, we played almost entirely new metal or heavier alternative 90s grunge type music because that's when we grew up. So,
right. And I remember telling him, look, she knows her crowd. This is what she wants. This is what she's hiring you to do. So this is what we're going to do. And he kept saying, if it doesn't go over well, it's not my fault. I'm like, just play what she wants you to play.
I do remember him
And
saying that
everybody loved it.
now. Yes. I mean, it's not the norm, but neither was anything else. So, I mean, and a lot of our friends, of course, grew up in the 90s. So while, we got married in 2011. So at the time, pop reigned and ruled.
Mhm.
Still, a lot of people knew all of the old music. And plus, I mean, they all knew me. I'm sure I've been
Right? They
listening to
loved
the
it.
music in their cars for years. So, or they've been driving around in mine. But it wouldn't have been the right wedding without it. I mean, our first dance, our song was Marilyn Manson's Sweet Dreams. I mean, it does. That's just, if it had been, if it had not been something like that, I don't know that you would have been at my wedding. Like, I don't think that would have been real.
You need to be true to who you are,
Yes.
always.
Well, and just like you were saying, like for the budget and the non-negotiables is different for each people. Like it's because you can see, you don't just do a one size fits all. And that's what makes you guys
Correct.
so good at what you do.
Correct. We really try to hone in on what is important to the client, what it is that they want to see, what their vision is. We really like to take time to decipher everything. And when I say time, I don't mean months and months and months of time just to figure it out. But we really like to get into it, take time, work it through, come up with a lot of ideas, present the clients with the ideas. They like them, great. They don't like them, that's fine too. We aren't married to any of the ideas that we come up with. We just want our clients to be really happy.
That sounds like exactly what I do when I'm designing a ring or anything for them. I come up with lots of designs, but it is ultimately a collaboration. They don't like this or they like this part and this. Well, then let's tweak it. Let's make it work. It sounds like the same thing. It's very, I guess it's just customer service at its core.
Right, right.
So I know we briefly touched on some things at my wedding, but some other things were coming up, but I just kind of wanted to just bring them up as just reminders of what can be done. And we've talked about it in the beginning, how you guys literally handmade every invitation, every food menu, because they were all coordinated, every thank you note. I still have some, and I still use them. I still have some thank you notes left over, but I do. Um, um, all of those things were coordinated with literally, you guys, they didn't go to a printer. It's handmade. You'll see in the picture, with, fold outs, brads, like, I don't even know what they're called, but it was incredible. And how many of you think of hand making your invitations? You're probably thinking going to a printer or, Zazzle or whatever. Like that's probably what I would have done. But that's truly full service. Well, also asking you guys to make the Necronomicon. And I didn't even give you guys much time either. My wedding was in October. When did I get you guys? May?
I think it
Maybe?
was May. I was going to say May or June,
Yeah, it was not a lot of time.
but it was one of my all-time favorite weddings. I mean, I think it was my all-time favorite wedding. Don't tell everybody I said that.
But to publicize it wide. It was my all-time favorite wedding too.
Right?
So I get it. And you guys featured me on your notices about like the award you won and everything. We got to have our
Yes.
ghost picture on there.
Yes.
So that was always really
That
fun.
was such a cool picture. That was such a cool picture. We still work with her sometimes too, with the
Yeah.
photographer.
I
So
mean, we were really lucky. I mean, I still love our engagement pictures, which one of them is the thumbnail for this very podcast, is our engagement pictures in the graveyard. And then just the ghost pictures she did, all of it was just, there wasn't one thing that wasn't somehow part of the theme. Well, unless you count my dress, I guess.
but it was very pretty. And it looked very ethereal. So it was still
Like kind of ghost-like. All right.
yes,
I'll go with that.
yes.
Go with
And
so
the cake was very fun.
I love the cake. Well, here, let me see if I can describe the cake, because I mean, and I had told you guys too, like the idea for the wedding was classy, elegant, traditional wedding with blood.
Right.
So we had like this traditional, like 3-tiered white cake, heart, splitter, sparkles, and then blood dripping all the way down the side. And then we would just have like hints of, accents of orange or skulls around the place. I mean, obviously, if you looked at the tables, but it was still done up to be, a traditional wedding. But if you looked closer, it had all of the elements of alternative, spooky, gothic, everything.
Yes.
So now let's just see any if Dana remembers any special challenges that came with, well, number one, being on an old boat, and number, a unique venue, and just things like that you may not think about when you're getting married that they always know to think about because they've done it so many times.
So your particular venue was the old ship, and even though they had elevators and they also had a cargo elevator, the elevator did not go up to the top area where your wedding and reception were being held. So do you remember the coffin that was made
The big
for you guys to get married in? We had to actually that had to be carried up, and then we had everything packed in individual boxes for each table so that we knew it was all labeled, everything was done. We had to haul all those boxes up the steps as well as all the pumpkins and all of the other decor items. I
that
don't
sounds
think you probably were aware because you were in
was
your
probably getting
room,
ready.
right, getting ready. And that was another thing. It's so funny. But the ship, because it's a ship, the hallways are narrow. It's an old ship. The
Mm.
hallways are very narrow. When the florist gives us boxes of flowers, they're usually in these very long boxes. And so normally we would carry them horizontally, like in front of us, but we had to carry it. It was still horizontal, but straight out in front of us. Actually, I carried it over my head because I had more control over it that way so that we could get the flowers down to everybody. Just another like quirky thing about the Queen Mary and about the narrow hallways that are on there.
It just it just could not be done. I see why they've instituted that rule right after at the Queen Mary. It could not be done. What was I going to do that in my dress?
Yeah.
With everything there. Oh gosh, that's amazing. There were so I just remembered something else that you guys did for the wedding. I remember that so I for the bar, I had a favorite type of beer, and my husband had a favorite type of beer. And you guys made sure that the bar had those two types of beer available at our wedding, which was
Yeah.
so cool. It wasn't just the normal. And it was an open bar, so that was nice for everybody. But just to be able to have our favorite drinks there, and then another thing you helped out with the DJ because he also provided a candy bar, which I don't
Yes.
know if that's still a big thing now, but it was all the rage when I got married. And we were like, we really wanted everything to be black candy.
Yes.
And I mean, I think it was probably you guys that dealt with this, but like he was not getting black candy, or do you remember this?
Yes, I do. I do. And I think we ended up with a little bit of purple, but mostly black. And it was mostly black candy. And we basically just went and said, these are the things that they want. These are the things that come in black candy. Licorice, like different kinds of chewies, all different types of things, though that come in black candy. And it was a lot of fun. We don't do as many candy bars as we used to, but they are always a hit when we do them. So
Things go, in and out of
very
trends.
cyclical, right? Right.
And so what I remember, yes, we got all of the candies and we knew what they were going to be. And it was literally like the week before the wedding. But I
Yeah.
remember you guys coming up with really, of course, I can't think of any right now, really
Okay.
creative, descriptive names for these. I'm sure I can find it in some pictures or something. But like spooky titles for them. And
Right. Right. And then
it
printing
was
out little
so
cards
cool.
because we wanted everything to match.
Yep.
So
Yes.
we wanted everything to match all the paper goods that we had done. So we printed them out so everything matched.
With some spooky names. And you
With
guys
some
came up
sticky
with all
notes.
the creative like poems, not a poem, but like where we're like, to
The
make
same.
sure you're wearing your costume I wish I knew what they were. I'm going to put them in the comments when I go look at them, but they were really creative and you guys came up with them. And as far as you guys even made like boxes for the guests that came from out of town that stayed on the ship.
Yes.
And those had a cool
Welcome,
poem on them
welcome.
too.
Right. Welcome basket slash boxes that we did for people. We like to do those as well. Those are always fun, especially when people are coming from out of town, and we try to include some different things that will help them navigate around the area so that they know what things are available. And then we always like to put fun things in there as well.
Oh, that's
You know,
what a
maybe
special
some
touch.
snacks that are from the area or that fit the theme. So
Nice, nice.
it
Something
is a lot of fun learning to do, or not learning, but looking at all of the different options, the things that we can do to really customize a wedding to our clients.
I'm just trying to imagine like that you guys have this checklist and you're like, do we have this? Do we have this? But on the other hand, how is that even possible? Because there's things that couldn't even possibly be on a checklist. So how do you not miss something?
I know we do have checklists, and I don't know if you remember, but when we do our timelining meeting, it takes usually around 2 hours. I just did one the other day. It took me 4. So we talk to the client about what it is that their vision is and all those things. We work through the whole evening or basically through the whole day. And then we talk about things that are going to be on the table, things that we might need to bring. And we usually cover everything. We did have a wedding that we did. They were going to have somebody build an arch. And instead, when we got there, there were trees. And I'm like, what am I supposed to do with these trees? And it was a
Something.
very windy area in a very windy time of year. And they were fake trees and they kept falling over. So we ended up having to make something else. I can't even remember what we did for the altar area. And then we had to we literally had to tie the trees to the chairs so that they wouldn't fall over because it was
I
so
mean,
windy.
it's a solution.
It was a
Better than them
solution.
falling
And the
over.
florist was like, "Oh, the mom paid dearly for these trees. You need to use them." And I'm thinking, I don't know what to do with them, but I will figure out something.
Oh my goodness. Just
So we
hearing
do have
all
a
of
lot of
that.
things that pop up that we don't always necessarily, somebody doesn't tell us about, or they'll come to us at the last minute. Do you have a red ribbon? No, your wedding is purple. Why would I have a red ribbon?
Well, so what's in your magic stuff that you bring? I mean, you've got to have a toolkit that you always have at the wedding. What's
We
in
do.
there? What's
So we have a couple of things. We have the one for the bride, and in that are everything from tooth glue. Do
Yeah,
you
and
remember that?
I was so there had to be tooth glue. For
Yes.
for people who don't know, I was born with a cleft, so I never had a tooth grow here. So it's always been a false tooth. And at that point in my life, it was falling off regularly. And I was like, I'm not gonna go to the wedding with my tooth off. So we have to have tooth glue in the kit. So apparently it's made the list now for good. Have you
It
ever
is.
had to use
It's
it?
on the list for good. We put curling irons, straighteners, hairspray, pretty much anything that the bride would need, but it also includes a sewing kit. We've had to sew a bride back into her dress before. Uh, the cards for cameras for the photographers, because we've actually had a photographer run out of memory space before. So we literally have tried to think of everything that we can think of to put into that kit. And then we also have a kit that we like to bring along that has things like extension cords,
Mm.
tape that you need to tape things down, because a lot of times a vendor will show up and I totally understand this. You think you have everything, and somebody pulled something out of your bag, and you get there and you don't have it, even though you know you double checked it 3 times. So we try to bring as many things as we can think of within our bags so that people don't have to worry about those types of things. So markers and pens and pins and just whatever, tape and
Yeah.
all different types of things.
that's just still sticking with me that you guys bring even the cards for the cameras. That's, I mean, because you would think they would have, buckets and buckets of them just in case, but that's so, I mean, that's genius. Like, because you're planning the whole thing anyway, able to support all the vendors.
Right, right.
That's such a good thing. I remember I didn't know, like, ours was, a long, big day. I didn't even think that feeding anybody. You guys had pointed that out, like, how are your photographers eating, or your videographer, anybody? I was like, oh, they need food? They need You guys pointed that out to me.
We like
Yeah.
to, and I'll be honest, a lot of times we pack our own like snacks and food, not whole meals, but we don't really have a lot of time to sit down and eat. We like to make sure that the rest of the vendors definitely get food in them. And we always make sure that we bring items, because that's another thing. Sometimes vendors will bring an extra person that we didn't know about. So if the three of us eat one whole meal, we're good. And half the time that doesn't even happen. And we're okay with that, because we know going in, we've brought food, we've brought water. We can sustain ourselves.
Prepare for everything, including earthquakes.
Yes,
You're ready
yes.
for it all. Oh my goodness.
And rain in July. We had a wedding where it rained in July. We were getting the bride out of the car to go into the church, and it started pouring down rain. And I was like, all right, well, here's an umbrella. I don't even like umbrellas. I don't carry them. I only use rain jackets. But we have umbrellas with our stuff, because you never know. California in July might
Well,
rain.
I mean, I thought I did know, but like I lived in California for 20 plus years. It rains like once. No, I mean,
I
it's more
know.
than that, but it's not very common. I mean, we were lucky ours didn't rain on the
Great.
boat in October. Ooh, but what it made it really, really lucky is that for anybody who lives in well, actually, you don't have to live in Southern California. Anybody that ever goes to one of those spooky themed things that they do at amusement parks, where they open it up at night and they do like the haunted houses and things. Well, the Queen Mary always has one, and it was always my favorite one, even though we had, Universal Studios Halloween nights and we had Knott's Berry Farm, but the Queen Mary one was always my favorite. And you could always just see it in the background while our wedding was going on and things
Yes.
too. So that was always like a fun, spooky touch. And we took any guests that wanted to through it the night before, which just something I didn't even think of as like making a whole weekend of it too, right? Or just when the guests were coming in, getting those boxes and making sure they
Right.
had rooms. And
Right.
it's just, I mean, I usually think of everything, but it's impossible without the experience that you guys have to be able to think of everything, especially when it's yours, first of all, and second of all, you're probably not a wedding planner. So unless you are, I just don't know that it would be possible.
Once something happens, that goes on our list of something to take care of, like to make sure that
Ready
we've
for.
got something to take care of it, because we don't want to have to quote unquote scramble the second time. So if we had to scramble the first time, we don't want to have to do it a second time.
Yeah, we learn our lesson. Don't let it
Yes,
happen again.
yes.
Definitely. Definitely. I just so something else I just remembered about the wedding, which this is what I want to talk about. It's just like how much you guys made it the very epitome of what I could possibly have imagined. In the bathrooms of the reception hall, in the bathrooms, there were blood dripping window clings on the mirrors, blood dripping candles, and the lights were off in the bathroom. I mean, it was just amazing. The theme continued, like Disneyland, where even the trash cans are themed and everything. It didn't stop when you went into the bathroom. It was still the Hallowedding, and everything about it was still in there.
And it was really nice, because you guys allowed us to have that creativity. You guys allowed us to just run with it. So
Well, especially, I mean, literally the first, well, it was the second time, but when you guys first showed that invitation to me, or just what the potential was and how you guys could see what I was seeing, I mean, absolutely. You guys are always, I mean, I live in my box of what I see, but the more collaboration, the more minds, the better. And it ended up working amazing. I mean,
yes,
even
yes.
you hear all the time how the bride never gets to eat at her wedding, et cetera, et cetera. Well, without a planner, you might not. You guys packed up all of our meals. And when I got back
Yes.
to my room that night, I ate it. It even had a knife for the steak. I mean, I ate it and it was perfect. But I wouldn't have been able to do that on my own, or my purse or my lipstick. I mean, just so many things. The seating board, the manning the guest table, the guest book. I mean, I
Mhm.
don't I had a very unusual guest book, which I guess veered from the theme a little bit. I don't know if you remember what I did.
Was
You may
it was
not.
it a globe? No.
No. And I mean, to be fair, you've done, thousands of weddings since mine.
My
And this wasn't part of the spooky theme, so it may
I
not
do
be.
remember that. I do remember that it wasn't part of the theme.
Right? It's like the one thing that veered. So I am a sewer. Sewing is my passion. I love sewing. And so what I did was I took all different colors of fabric and I cut them into little hearts and stars. And people would write with fabric markers on the hearts and stars. Those were their guest book. And then I was going to turn it into a quilt or a wall hanging or something like that. I'm
I
still
do
gonna.
remember.
I
Yeah.
still gonna. I have them. I'm still gonna do that. But the one thing that veered from it, but it was also like unusual. People probably guess, used to signing a book, they walk, what is this? So making sure that got handled. And the table seating arrangements, you guys had the boards with like little tombstones on
Yes.
them and things with
Yes.
everybody's names. And the place settings were vampire teeth that were sparkly and held the card of each person's names and all the rainbow colors. There wasn't one thing that wasn't covered. The reception, I mean, you guys didn't even use plain safety pins. The safety pins were covered with like a spider web or just something, like everything. It was like
Remember we
truly.
put some, things on the murals in the reception room as well to give them
Remember
those
that.
spooky faces. We put them over the front of the faces that were on there.
I didn't remember that until you said that. Yes, because there were murals on the wall that were not at all in theme.
Right.
You made them in theme.
We
Oh,
wanted
how
to
fun.
we wanted to make sure they fit.
How fun. And so I know that you guys are always like working at weddings and it's a lot of work, but I was actually going through some of the pictures from the green screener, like the coffin and the ghost and whatever, and I found some of you guys. So you
Oh
guys
my
got
gosh.
a chance to play with some of those. I mean, even if it was just for a second.
Yeah, we try every once in a while to throw in, like, one little thing of fun.
So it's good. It's great. I People are just so lucky when they hire, or I mean, if they hire a planner in general. But your guys are my only experience, so hopefully, the people are all able to hire planners that can do for them what you guys were able to do for me. And I know people are going to ask after this, so I'm going to ask you guys: do
Yes.
you travel to do
Yes.
weddings?
Yes, we
Okay,
do.
okay. What does that look like?
We will go, wherever they want us to go. Of course, there's that isn't a an added cost. I hate to say that,
Of
but,
course, yes, of course,
but
yes.
we love to do weddings wherever it would be. So we would do the same thing that we did with you, where we did a few venue checks and make sure that we did some walkthroughs and things like that, hiring vendors, communicating with them. We would love to, obviously what type of a theme they've got going, what they really want to do, how their vision is. And we would do that. We've done outdoor weddings, indoor weddings, weddings at historical locations, just all different types of things and we love every one of them. They're all different. And it's just very exciting to do. It's a fun job. It really is a fun job. It's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun.
Yes. Well, then that means you're doing the right thing. I mean, that's
Yeah.
how I feel too about
Yes.
designing the jewelry. I mean, yes, there's so many pieces, but it's so fun, and what comes out. I mean, are things I wouldn't have necessarily ever come up with on my own by collaborating with
Right.
someone else. And I can imagine, I mean, in this day and age, especially since COVID, where so many more people are willing to work over Zoom calls and electronically, that doing those destination weddings would be significantly easier than they used to be.
Yes, yes, they are. It's a lot easier to do that because a lot of people are willing to do those types of things. So you don't have to go check it out. You don't have to be there in person, face to face on the regular.
Yeah.
So it makes it much easier for us to be able to do those types of things.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, um, I think we're about to wrap it up. I would love if is there anything else like that I missed or that you want to add or I forgot?
I can't think of anything. I mean, there were so many things that were so much fun, but I think that we talked about most of them and all of the things that were different. And I think what I want to say to people, besides obviously hiring a planner, is make sure that they get your vision and make sure that your personality comes through in your wedding and that they understand that. That is so important. That is so important for our clients to make sure that they're happy and that their guests are comfortable because obviously their guests know the client. So the wedding should reflect the client. So
That's a really good point. I could imagine, and of course, I keep relating it back to here, but I can imagine people like, at least in my industry, that say, or they go into a jewelry store and they say, well, we can do custom, but it's really just a version of what they've got in their case.
right.
And so if they're meeting someone, maybe that, that's maybe not quite as creative and they're just like, well, no, you do this because that's what's done, or you do this. I mean, how do they make sure that they're finding the right person? What do you recommend?
Our initial consultation with a client is really important. And I feel like that's where we really get to know them. And because it's usually very casual, it's in a relaxed setting. And we want to make sure that our everybody's personality meshes because that's not always the case. I have to say, I've probably only walked away from a couple going, maybe two or three, thinking, okay, I don't think our personalities meshed very well, so we're probably not going to be their choice for the hire. And we weren't. And that's okay because I want everybody to make sure that what they do see or what they do get is what their vision is and somebody that they're going to be able to work with and work toward that vision. So I think that people get a gut instinct
Okay.
from the beginning on people and whether they're really going to be able to work with them.
Okay. Trust your gut.
I
Yes.
always say trust your gut.
Yep. Yep. You could definitely see that applying. I mean, sometimes you just know when you don't click with someone. So that's important, right? Don't just go with the one that necessarily fits your budget. Make sure they fit your vision.
Exactly. Because, I mean, while budget is important, your planner can help you, work within a budget. So they can help you even if you need to trim something from one area or trim something from another area. That's what they're there for. So that's what they should be doing to help you, which might make it easier for you to actually hire them. So,
I could not agree more. Probably most people that are hiring a planner probably just think, okay, they help you with, the timeline and where you go and the rehearsal dinner and things. But that could, at least, maybe it's just you guys, but that could not be further from the truth as far as I mean, you guys literally hand created spell potion bottles for my witch table, right? I mean, it could,
and it was
so, I mean, literally anything, even if you didn't know, well, we're going to figure it out. It's not, you don't worry about it. We're going to figure it out. And so
right,
that's priceless,
right.
priceless.
And
And
the
yes,
couples have the
absolutely.
ability, our couples have the ability to say, we only need X, Y, and Z. We really like to take control of this, and that's fine too. We are perfectly happy to concede most of that power, but I will always follow up and make sure that things are on track and going well. Because the last thing we want to do is get to the day of the week of the month of the wedding and things are not done, handled, or in under control. Because then you start throwing money at things, and that's just a losing proposition for everybody.
And that's how
And
you
we don't
don't
want
stay
that. We
on
don't want
budget.
that for our clients.
Yep.
So that is really one of the things. And I always tell my clients that they can contact me. We don't have limits because I don't think that that's something that we should ever limit is how much the client can contact us. If I am not, I tell them, look, if you wake up, write it in a book on your night table. If you don't have one, feel free to text me. If I'm awake, I'll text you back. If I'm not,
Then I
I'll
won't.
text you when I wake up.
Yeah.
So I don't ever want people to feel like they can't get an answer or they can't contact me because that's why we're here. We're here to make their life easier, not
Yes.
harder.
Yes.
So,
With all of the experience, you know the timelines, like what should be done by now and what should this budget or how much should you be paying on this or how to fit it in.
right,
So while most people may think the planner is like an extra expense, I'm almost seeing it as a way to ensure you get what you need or what you're looking for.
agreed, agreed. And when you were talking about shows, we do some shows. It's hard. So it's hard for planners to do shows because what we need to talk about is the whole wedding, what we do to cover the whole wedding. But people at shows are just walking by, they want a quick something or other. So we try to, put a video show up, maybe put a decorative table up, give them something to stop for a second. But we need a lot of people to talk to them. And it
Yeah.
usually is just a 5-minute chat at the most. But at least we want to give them an idea of what it is that we do.
Yeah.
And that's hard. That's hard to do in 5 minutes.
Yes. I mean, there's no way you could possibly convey that. I mean, that's
Right,
why I'm so lucky you guys called me and then called me again. And the client you were just talking about that like wants to be in charge of some things and then just needed
right,
you for things, like that's where I started with you guys. I was like, I
right,
got this. I
right.
just need you guys day of. Just
Yes,
day of. Man, did that turn around in a hurry. But again, you guys were able to pivot.
yes, yes.
So naive of me. So naive.
Not at all. Not at all.
So, I know it's been 13 years. You guys are still killing it out there, and I'm so glad. Um, you know, that's another thing that we even still are in touch with each other, or still kind of even know what's going on in each other's lives. I mean, that's 13 years. I mean, do you still know your florist? I mean, just like, who do you keep in touch with? This is like
Right.
it's a big relationship, and
It is. We create a really big relationship, for lack of a better word, an intimate relationship with our brides and grooms because we spend a lot of time. We want to get to know them. We want to get to know what it is that they want, how they want things to go. We spend time working on, a number of different things. And so it's almost like your children flying off.
I
When our
agree.
couples get married, it's like, oh, there goes another one.
I know everything's done. Wait, what? I don't need, wait, they can't do this for me now? Wedding's over. Wait, I need this. I just, and I even remember it was like 3 years after we got married. Joanne found some skull earrings and she mailed them to me. Oh, I should have worn them. I still have them. I'll, I'll put a picture, but she found some skull earrings and just remembered
Yes,
me and sent them to me. I mean, it's just so
I know.
thoughtful.
And we like to stay, I like to, even if Facebook is, I don't post a whole lot, but I love to just go on there and see what's happening with our clients and their lives and the kids they've had or the trips that they're taking and the things that they're doing.
How different. I
Yes.
used to be
Yeah.
just me and my husband and the 4 dogs, and now it's me and my husband and 3 wild and crazy girls running everywhere
Yes.
with only
And
one
they're so
dog.
cute.
Just keep up. Like a few minutes before we started recording, you and I were just catching up, and you were like, you knew all about my kids. I knew all about
Yes.
Dominique. Like,
Right. Right.
kept in touch. So that's just another thing that's just it's really special. Like you build a relationship, and that's not just something you do with every vendor. And it's also because of how important the day is and the memories and how it goes off. So I'm
Yes.
so
Yes.
lucky that I had you guys, and even 13 years later, you're willing to come back and help me launch this podcast, come in full circle around with all of my spookiness, making it more well known to the world. Usually I hide it in the beginning. And then as I get to know people, it comes out. Well, not
Right?
anymore. Not anymore.
Well, we are so glad to have been able to sit down and chat with you and to have taken care of your wedding. We are honored anytime a client chooses us to take care of their special day. So
And
we
those
thank you.
clients, you will be very lucky if you're able to work with them. I am a first person testimonial to that. Even 13 years later, I'm still 100% on board. Still with it. So, if there's anything that you heard or that you want to learn more about, I'm going to try to post links of everything, even some photos, just so you can know more about Dana's company and
Yes,
just all the things that we talked about that you can't see if you're listening. And that way, you can get a full idea of what all of this looked like and really all of the pieces that they took care of. And definitely follow, like, share, all of the things. And
absolutely.
I'll be back with a next episode soon. And just thank you again, Dana, for joining us.
Thank you.
Greatly
Thank you.
appreciated.
All right. Take care.